I'll just read the text and then the translation. Vedashu jagyasu tapasu chaiva dhanashu yat punya palam pradishtam atyati tat sarvamidam veditva yogi param sthan mupaiti chadyam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode. Everyone can please repeat. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these. And at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode. Purport. This verse is the summation of the 7th and 8th chapters, which particularly deal with Krishna consciousness and devotional service. One has to study the Vedas under the guidance of the spiritual master and undergo many austerities and penances while living under his care. A brahmachari has to live in the home of the spiritual master just like a servant. And he must beg alms from door to door and bring them to the spiritual master. He takes food only under the master's order. And if the master neglects to call the student for food that day, the student fasts. These are some of the Vedic principles for observing brahmacharya. After the student studies the Vedas under the master for some time, at least from age 5 to 20, he becomes a man of perfect character. Study of the Vedas is not meant for the recreation of armchair philosophers, but for the formation of character. After this training, the brahmachari is allowed to enter into household life and marry. When he is a householder, he has to perform many sacrifices so that he may achieve further enlightenment. He must also give charity according to the country, time, and candidate, discriminating among charity in goodness, in passion, and in ignorance, as described in the Bhagavad Gita. Then after retiring from household life, upon accepting the order of vanaprastha, he undergoes severe penances, living in forests, dressing with tree bark, not shaving, etc. By carrying out the orders of brahmacharya, household life, vanaprastha, and finally sannyas, one becomes elevated to the perfectional stage of life. Some are then elevated to the heavenly kingdoms, and when they become even more advanced, they are liberated in the spiritual sky, either in the impersonal Brahmajyoti or in the Vaikuntha planets or Krishna Loka. This is the path outlined by the Vedic literatures. So in this first part of the purport, we can see how far we are from the Vedic scheme of life. As Srila Prabhupada said in one lecture, that I have simply prescribed 4 rules, and even those they cannot follow. And simply asking to chant the holy name of Krishna, and that is they find very difficult. Prabhupada said, therefore, we must take Lord Chaitanya's mercy. So this, practically speaking, just like Arjuna says in a previous chapter, in chapter 6, that this process that you've outlined, Krishna, appears more difficult than controlling the wind. Otherwise, this idea you presented, this yogic idea, to somehow or another, control the mind. Of course, at the end of the 6th chapter, Krishna says that Arjuna, yes, you must be a yogi. But what kind of yogi? Yoginam api sarvesham madgadanandaratmanaha. The type of yogi who always keeps Krishna in his heart and meditates on Krishna. This is the type of yogi you should be. That type of yogi is better than anybody else. No? Tapabhyo adhiko yogi. Better than the tapasvis. No? Here in this verse it mentions the tapasya. There are different processes: Vedashu, Jagyashu, Tapasu. We study the Vedas. We do sacrifice, Jagya, which today we had a little homa, and Radharaman was explaining the difference in the actual complexity of a real Jagya. Ashvamedha Jagya, 100-horse sacrifice, in which none of the horses are killed. In these sacrifices, no one was killed. Everyone was actually, people came out much better. People, animals, everyone came out much better. So, and Vedashu, study of the Vedas. Who can study the Vedas nowadays? No. Practically, even people who are expert in Sanskrit, studying the Vedas, first of all, no one can acquire the ingredients to perform all Vedic rituals and rites. And very few people can even understand. Even 5,000 years ago, the sages of Naimisharanya gathered together and they said no one will be able to follow the Vedas. And that was 5,000 years ago. What to speak of nowadays? When we're trying to figure out if we'll still have air to breathe and water to drink in the next 20 years. So, what to speak? Study the Vedas. So they said, let us compile the Srimad Bhagavatam. And who can even understand the Srimad Bhagavatam? Even the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna heard the Bhagavad Gita in 45 minutes and understood it completely, assimilated it, and acted upon it. And we sit here for years studying Bhagavad Gita, trying to even figure out the first part, that I'm not this body. Try to put it into practice. So these things are very difficult. And Srila Prabhupada, just in the first part of his purport, has just outlined what it means to follow the Vedic process. So many rules, so many regulations, so many austerities, so many difficulties. So, Srila Prabhupada continues and says, the beauty of Krishna consciousness, however, is that by one stroke, by engaging in devotional service, one can surpass all the rituals of the different orders of life. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Prabhupada outlined Bhaktivinoda Thakur's instructions, that whether one be a renunciant, whether one be a householder, whatever one's situation may be, or undefined, that's becoming an ever more popular category nowadays. You can't figure out exactly what somebody is according to the Vedic scheme. Somewhere in there between Griha Medi and part-time renunciate. And so it's very difficult to even figure out what people are nowadays. Even to figure out whether they're Vaishya. Everyone's forced to make money. No one can even be a Brahmin. No one can be a Kshatriya, because everybody has to make money, which is not in the Vedic system. Actually, only 1/4 of the people basically were grihastas. And out of those, the Brahmin grihastas didn't make money, and the Shudra grihastas didn't make money. So the only people that made money were basically the Vaishyas. So it's like 1/16 of society was working and making money. And everybody else lived on charity and advanced in spiritual life. And nowadays, every husband and wife practically has to work just to survive. What to speak of giving charity. Here, it's recommended charity. So we can achieve all these things by devotional service. Because in devotional service, charity is very easy. Of course, we should give charity according to our means, but there's one charity that everyone can give, And what is that? Krishna consciousness. Everyone can give the holy name. As a matter of fact, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered us. Jarideka tarikaha Krishnupadesha maragyaya guru hanya taredesh. That everyone, whomever they meet, wherever they go, from whatever degree of understanding of Krishna they may have, they should give that. And even if you don't understand anything, you can give the Mahamantra. Even if you can't chant very nicely, just give a mantra card. People can chant. So, this is charity. This is the most wonderful charity. So in Krishna consciousness, Vedic studies, tapasya, all these things are accomplished. Otherwise, if they're not utilized or if they're not properly understood in terms of Krishna consciousness, then it can become very, very difficult to perform these things. Even so many thousands or millions of years ago, pure Vedic sacrifices, big austerities, they were so difficult. Just like if we take tapasya. Here it's mentioned tapasya. So there are so many instances, like Vishwamrita Muni. Vishwamrita Muni did very severe tapasya. And for 10,000 years. And then because Indra became a little concerned, because this is when everybody has their weak, their good points and their weak points. And Indra's weak point is that he's always fearful that someone else will come and take his position. So when anybody does too many austerities, whether it be Vishwamrita Muni, be Bandika Muni, all these different Muni, when they do too many austerities, Indra gets a little nervous. So he sends some apsaras to confuse them. And so in the case of Vishwamrita Muni, after 10,000 years of meditation, all that time, he lost the whole benefit of that meditation, that austerity, by simply being attracted to the ankle bells of Mendaka. And even in the time of Lord Chaitanya, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began his kirtans in the house of Shivas, they were having beautiful kirtans. Everybody wanted to come in. And the people who were very envious, they would say, what are they doing in there? Probably some illicit activity. We don't. They really wanted to come in, but they were envious. And the people who were pious, they would say, no, because of these envious people, we can't go in. Because otherwise they would ruin everything. But there was one brahmachari, one very austere brahmachari, doing very severe tapasya. And he would come every day. And he would sit outside. And he would speak to Shivas. He would say, my dear Shivas, I have all my life, I've never performed any sinful activity. I have every day performed austerities and penances and sacrifices. And I live only by drinking milk and eating a little bit of fruit. So I think that, I certainly will not create any disturbance if you let me in. He said, no. That Mahaprabhu said no one can come in. No one except those who he invites. Otherwise, I myself may be banned from my own house. So I can't do it. But then he kept insisting and begging, and so Shivas thought, well, he's so austere, he's such a great yogi. Certainly, I'll put him in here, I'll hide him inside. So he took this young brahmachari, austere, hid him away, and Lord Chaitanya came, and he began to dance and chant in ecstasy, and then he stopped. And something's wrong. Somebody is here who shouldn't be here. And Shiva said, I can guarantee that there's no one here who is sinful. And immediately Lord Chaitanya looked at him. He said, just one yogi, and he's so austere, he just lives by drinking milk. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, bring him here. So he brought him there. He said, so you think that just by drinking milk you can achieve me? No. Just by eating some fruit you can achieve me? No. He said, the gopis in Vrindavan, they were not doing any austerities, yet they achieved me by their love. No. The monkeys, they achieved me simply by their devotion. Yet they did no great austerities. No. So who do you think you are? No. He said, this man should immediately be thrown out and beaten. No. And so devotees were a little upset. And Lord Chaitanya just explained that only by devotional service, only by dedication to Krishna, only by chanting the holy name can one achieve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then, as he was leaving, he said, my dear Lord, thank you very much. Even if you beat me or whatever you do, just the opportunity I've had to come here and get your mercy and hear your chanting of the holy name and hear the pure chanting, my life has become perfect. Therefore, whatever you want to do, that is up to you. And Lord Chaitanya said, all right, bring him back. Lord Chaitanya embraced him. Said, now you understood that the real qualification is devotion. Because by devotion, you can achieve all these things. And there are other cases. If we take into account charity, just like King Nriga, he gave charity. He was a very pious king, a very great ruler, very benevolent to all of his citizens, and he especially loved the Brahmins. So he had a huge amount of cows. He gave, 1 million cows in charity to 2 Brahmins, divided this group of cows into 2. And when he sent them off, 1 cow, cows aren't very obedient sometimes. So 1 cow drifted into the other group. And immediately the Brahmin who got shorted, he said, wait a minute, you said you were giving this many cows? It's 1 short. And Nriga Maharaj said, this is just a mistake. Just 1 cow wandered off. I'll give you 100,000 more cows. No. You told me you would give this many cows. Now you will suffer. No. And he cursed him to become a lizard. No. Of course, by becoming a lizard, he met Krishna and he became liberated. But the point is that even giving charity, as Srila Prabhupada mentions here in the purport, that giving charity is something that is very, very special. It has to be done in the right place, at the right time, to the right person. That's in the mode of goodness. Otherwise, in the mode of passion, you give charity to the wrong person. For what purpose? So that I can become very famous, just like we see, in the newspaper, somebody cutting a ribbon, in front of somebody, just giving some charity, and just wants to be in the newspaper, so he's famous. No, I'm giving nice charity. I'm doing this. So for one's own, this is the mode of passion. And the mode of ignorance, we give to the wrong person in the wrong place at the wrong time. Everything's wrong, And that's compared to feeding milk to a snake. Just like if you give charity to a thief, what is the benefit? See someone on the street who has very bad habits, you give them charity, and you're simply increasing their bad habits. So charity, but if we're Krishna conscious, then automatically we're giving charity, even by our own activities. Just by someone who is Krishna conscious, who goes to work and simply displays good qualities. Just like there was one devotee, I knew this devotee, he lived in Detroit, Michigan, in the U.S., and he was working in an automobile plant. And his job was to put screw number 47 into place number 365. I don't know the numbers, but anyway, that was his job all day long. But he was always smiling. He was always happy. And everyone else would look at him like, what's wrong with you? Why are you happy? You can't be happy doing this all day long. And he said, well, actually, the reason I'm happy is what I eat. So he asked his wife to prepare more prasadam. He gave it to all of his fellow workers. And he said, not only when you eat this, but if you chant this mantra, these words, then it'll just make you feel very good. And it doesn't matter what you're doing, you'll just be happy. So he taught everyone the Maha Mantra, gave them prasadam for a few weeks. And everybody started, hey, this is nice. And they all started working harder. And they were all smiling. So then his supervisor came and he said, this is amazing. You have increased the productivity. We're going to promote you. So he got promoted to administrative position just by chanting Hare Krishna. So even one can do charity to others simply just by working and being happy in Krishna consciousness. And also in this verse, it mentions Jagyashu, that by doing great sacrifices, just like Indra did great sacrifices, but when somebody else would do great sacrifices, just like Pitu Maharaj, when he was doing the Ashwamedha Yajna, then Indra became concerned, and he took away one of the horses. And so the whole Yajna was thrown off, and Pitu Maharaj became disturbed, and he went after Indra. It created a whole difficulty. So if the Yajna is not perfectly executed, then everything becomes very difficult. And also, another example, even so many thousands of years ago, a great devotee of the Lord, Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj, he performed great austerities because he was not favored by the favorite queen of his father. So he became very angry. He said to his mother, "What am I going to do?" And she said, "Only the Lord can solve these problems." Because his stepmother had said, "The only way you can sit on your father's lap is to take birth from my womb. That's the only solution." So he was very frustrated. And so he went off into the forest. He said, "Then I'll find God in the forest." And he met Narad Muni. And Sri Narad Muni said, "No, you're a little boy. You just go home. You're not going to find God." And he said, "I'm sorry. I should obey you, but I must do this." So Narad Muni saw his determination, gave him the mantra, Om Narayanaya Namaha. And he went off and he did so many austerities and penances that he disturbed the whole flow of prana, and the whole universal order became disturbed. And because he was meditating so profoundly on the Supreme Lord in his heart, that the Lord began to appear personally. And the weight of the Lord, because he's holding up unlimited universes, began to actually disturb the whole, the orbit of the planets. So the demigods asked the Lord, "Please do something." So he appeared before Dhruva Maharaj. He said, "My dear boy, what do you want?" And he was simply dumbfounded. And then the Lord touched him on the head and said, "So please tell me what you want." He said, "Actually, I was thinking, that I wanted so many things. Sthanabhilasi tapasi stitoham. That I thought I would perform great austerities. But now, tvam paptavam deva munindra guyam. Now I've found something, I've achieved something, that even great kings, great sages, even demigods cannot even find. Kacham vichin vam napi ratna divyam. Now I have this transcendental gem. I was looking for broken glass. Otherwise I was looking for all this my desire to have a great kingdom, universe. No. It's just compared to seeing your beauty, my Lord. Compared to being in your presence, it's just like a piece of broken glass. And you are like a transcendental gem. Therefore, the only thing I want, the only benediction I want is your devotional service. So, there's nothing in this world, even as Krishna says in this verse, that if we perform devotional service, we attain all these things. In other words, we attain all the benefit of austerities, we attain all the benefit of penances, we attain all the benefit of everything. And still, we get the most important thing, which is to be promoted to the eternal abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the benefit of devotional service. And even by Vedic study, someone can be very expert in Vedic study, but even that Vedic study can deviate them. Just like in the case of Prakashananda Saraswati. He was very expert in studying the Vedas, very expert in Vedanta. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Varanasi, then one Brahmin, he saw Lord Chaitanya, he saw how beautiful he was, he became captivated. And the Lord decided to stay there because his two devotees, Chandrasekhar and Tapan Misra, they said, please stay here and bless us. So only because of that he stayed. But he wouldn't accept invitations to anyone's house, any Brahmins, because they were all entertaining the Mayavadi sannyasis, all following Prakashananda. So this Brahmin, he knew Prakashananda, the leader of the sannyasis. He wanted Lord Chaitanya to be able to bless everyone. So he went and he said, this Sri Krishna Chaitanya has come. He's so wonderful. He's so beautiful. His features, his arms are down to his knees. He's chanting and everyone is completely enchanted by his presence. He's actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prakashananda said, no, he's a sentimentalist. And not only that, he's simply performing some magical tricks to illusion the people, but he doesn't study Vedanta. No. So he had so much Vedic knowledge. He knew so many things, but he could not understand Vedaishcha Sayavaya Rahameva Vedyo. He could not understand that the purpose of the Vedas, as Krishna himself says, is to understand Krishna. No, that is the purpose. So in Krishna consciousness, through Bhagavad Gita, we can understand automatically the whole purpose of life, the goal of life, which is Krishna consciousness. So just to finish this purport by Srila Prabhupada, the words idam viditva indicate that one should understand the instructions given by Sri Krishna in this chapter and in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. One should try to understand these chapters not by scholarship or mental speculation, but by hearing them in the association of devotees. Chapters 7 through 12 are the essence of Bhagavad Gita. The first 6 and the last 6 chapters are like coverings for the middle 6 chapters, which are especially protected by the Lord. If one is fortunate enough to understand Bhagavad Gita, especially these middle 6 chapters, in the association of devotees, then his life at once becomes glorified beyond all penances, sacrifices, charities, speculations, etc. For one can achieve all the results of these activities simply by Krishna consciousness. So I mentioned briefly this morning, there was one great Vedic scholar in the time of Lord Chaitanya. His name was Devananda Pandit. He was such a scholar that he knew all the different Vedic purport, but he was especially attracted to Srimad Bhagavatam. But because he was not a devotee of Krishna, he did not understand the essence of devotional service. He would explain it from a very philosophical, analytical point of view, but he couldn't understand the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is to surrender to Krishna and to serve Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya, he was walking by his ashram and he heard him preaching improper interpretation of Bhagavatam. And he became very angry. He said, I will stop this person. So he came in and he said, you will never achieve success because you have offended the great devotee Srivas Pandit. You will never achieve success, no matter what you do. You are cursed. No. And Lord Chaitanya left. And Devananda was very affected. And he knew this was true. But because he was not associating with Vaishnavas and because he didn't understand the nature of devotional service, even though he was reading the Bhagavatam every day, he couldn't understand, he couldn't surrender, he couldn't appreciate the position of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So many years went by and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was again in Navadvip, but this time as a sannyasi. And one Brahmin came to him and he said, my Lord, what can I do if I've offended a devotee? And the Lord said, you must chant incessantly the holy name of Krishna and you must serve the Vaishnavas, all the Vaishnavas. Then you can compensate for such an offense. And so, this was told to Devananda. And even hearing this, Devananda could not bring himself to rectify his consciousness. So, by great fortune, one devotee named Brakeshwar Pandit, who was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya and a great dancer in the kirtans of Lord Chaitanya, he was passing by the ashram of Devananda, and he was thinking, as a devotee generally thinks, oh, this person, he's reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. Because what Devananda did is that one time Srivas came to his ashram, and he began to hear the Bhagavatam, but because he was such a great devotee, when he heard the Bhagavatam, he began to cry and even fall unconscious on the floor. And Devananda's students became very upset, and they just took him outside. Thought, well, who is this person? He's creating a disturbance. We should sit very seriously in here. So he threw him outside. And Srivas felt very bad, and he went home feeling very badly that he could not hear the Bhagavatam anymore. And Devananda did nothing to stop them. So Brakeshwar had understood this. And he said, so let me teach him something. So he stayed with him for some time, and every day he would dance and chant the holy name and dance in ecstasy. And Devananda would observe daily his ecstasy, his dancing, his chanting, and he became touched by that. And he began to feel the bliss of devotional service. And now he began to understand the Bhagavatam. And then he went to Lord Chaitanya, and he fell at his feet, and he begged his mercy. And Lord Chaitanya told him the same thing. You simply chant the holy name unswervingly, incessantly, and you should also serve all the devotees, and you should give up your pride. Then you will become the greatest servant of the Bhagavatam. So Devananda did that, and he went to Srivas Pandit and begged his forgiveness. And he became a very, very great devotee of Lord Chaitanya, just by what Srila Prabhupada says here, the association of Vaishnavas. So, the most important thing we can do, the way we actually stimulate our devotion, our devotional life, is by associating with devotees. So therefore, this Bhaktivedanta Manor and all of our temples all over the world, that is what they're dedicated for. That's what we're here for. To come together, to dance and chant, and feel the happiness and ecstasy of devotional service. Because that is how devotional service begins. You chant the holy name, you hear about Krishna, you hear about how to perform devotional service, and then one becomes very inspired. So Srila Prabhupada concludes, one who has a little faith in the Bhagavad Gita should learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee. Because in the beginning of the 4th chapter, it is stated clearly that Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees. Yes, Krishna tells Arjuna that Bhaktosi me sakha chatti. That I have selected you today to hear this Bhagavad Gita because you are my devotee and you are my friend. So at the end of the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells us that there are 3 things you have to do so that your mind can become peaceful and you can understand this message. Bhoktaram jagatapasam. That you should understand that I am the recipient of everything you do. Just like everything we do, we have to dedicate it to someone or something. You have to make some money or whatever we're doing in life, we want to dedicate it to someone or something or some cause. Even if it's my own prosperity. We dedicate it to something. So if we have to dedicate it to something anyway, better to dedicate it to Krishna. Make our home Krishna conscious. Make our family Krishna conscious. Make our community Krishna conscious. Make our world Krishna conscious. That's a bigger scheme, long-term plan. Short-term, make me Krishna conscious. Long-term, make the world Krishna conscious. So when we think this way, then Krishna becomes very happy. And to do that, we just have to understand Sarvaloka Maheshwara. That Krishna owns everything anyway. So everything we're doing, we're actually borrowing it from Krishna. And we have to pay back. And the only payback that Krishna wants, he's not saying, look, I gave you so much air, so much water, so much sunshine, it's worth this much, so many kilowatt hours, and that costs so many pounds, therefore you owe me, 2,700,000 pounds. No. Krishna just says, Patram pushpam balam toyam. I give you everything, you give me a fruit, flower, leaf, water. But the main ingredient is bhakti, devotion. Give it with devotion. If that's all you have, give that. Of course, if you have more, then don't just give a leaf. No, don't just give a flower. No, give a whole garland, at least. Or give many leaves. No, especially green leaves. No, well, here they're a different color. In the U.S., they're green. No. So, help with what you can. Make a sacrifice. Don't give Krishna your remnants. Give Krishna your prosperity. No. Some people we want to give. Sometimes we have that attitude. We give Krishna our remnants. No. Have a little something left over. Yes, for Krishna. No, first we give to Krishna. Then we take what's left over. No. Because he's the owner of everything. But he doesn't want it. He wants us to use it. Okay, use it in your home. Use it for your family. But make them Krishna conscious. Use it for making them Krishna conscious. Use it for making everything around you Krishna conscious. No. And Suridam Sarvabhutana. And we have to understand that Krishna is our best friend. Because we may have so many friends. But actually all our friends in the material world are fair weather friends. No. They're friends, but if the circumstances become too difficult, they will abandon us. But Krishna has been with us life after life after life after life, always in the heart, always encouraging us to do the right thing. And now, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada, Krishna is giving us every possibility to achieve the perfection of life very easily. He's giving us Bhagavad Gita. He's giving us the holy name. He's giving us Krishna Prasadam. He's giving us the Vaishnavas. He's giving us the deities. He's giving us so many wonderful things that in a very simple, easy way can give us the perfection of our existence. So, as Srila Prabhupada says here, one has to become Krishna's devotee and Krishna's friend. One should therefore learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee, not from mental speculators. This is a sign of faith. When one searches for a devotee, and fortunately gets a devotee's association, one actually begins to study and understand Bhagavad Gita. By advancement in the association of devotees, one is placed in devotional service, and this service dispels all of one's misgivings about Krishna or God. And Krishna's activities, form, pastimes, name, and other features. After these misgivings have been perfectly cleared away, one becomes fixed in one's study. Then one relishes the study of Bhagavad Gita and attains a state of feeling always Krishna conscious. In the advanced stage, one falls completely in love with Krishna. Thus, this highest perfectional stage of life enables the devotee to be transferred to Krishna's abode in the spiritual sky, Goloka Vrindavan, where the devotee becomes eternally happy. So, Srila Prabhupada here says, this one step, just dedicating oneself to Krishna, brings one to the point of surpassing all Vedic studies, all sacrifices, all austerities, all charity, all forms of charity, all forms of pious activities. It brings us to the highest platform. And Srila Prabhupada emphasizes the study of Bhagavad Gita. We discussed this the other night because Bhagavad Gita gives us jnana chakshu, eyes of knowledge. And with eyes of knowledge, we can see things clearly. First of all, we can see who I am. Because if we don't understand who I am, then everything else will simply be a miscalculation. Just like if you see somebody in the street and he says, I'm a kangaroo. No. Say, who are you? I'm a kangaroo. I'm a horse. No. Then what will you think? No, there's no question. There's no question of dealing with this person. No. So also, if we try to worship Krishna, but we're still thinking that I'm this body by our activities, we're still dedicating ourselves to try to enjoy this material body without giving sufficient time and energy to cultivating the soul, cultivating our Krishna consciousness, then how will Krishna take us seriously? So the Bhagavad Gita, as Srila Prabhupada explains, progressively takes us step by step toward Krishna and takes us beyond everything, even that which is Vedic, even that which is recommended by morality, good behavior. It takes us beyond all these things. All these things are automatically achieved by a devotee in devotional service. That was illustrated by Srinarad Muni. Srinarad Muni met one hunter, and this hunter, Mrigadi, he was such a cruel person that he was killing animals, but he wouldn't kill them right away. He would half kill them and then just let them die slowly. And he got great enjoyment. He thought this was very nice. Watched them suffer. Felt very powerful. And then he was instructed. And after being instructed, then after some time, Narad Muni brought other sages to see him. And he said, just see. And he was walking along in a zigzag course. Why? Because he was, after getting the mercy of Narad Muni and after getting the mercy of devotional service, he wouldn't even step on an ant. No. So this is the power of transformation of the process of devotional service. It can transform us morally. It can transform us spiritually. It can take us beyond anything within this world. That is the nature of Bhagavad Gita. So this teaching of Bhagavad Gita is very, very important. We should all take it very seriously. I'm very happy to see so many people here, but there's also so many people in London who aren't here, who don't have a Bhagavad Gita. So whenever one has to give a gift, whenever one has to give, something to someone, give them a Bhagavad Gita. As Srila Prabhupada said here, it is the stepping stone to spiritual success because it is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is some aspects of this particular verse of Bhagavad Gita. So I'd like to stop here at this point to see if there's any questions.